Hi, I'm Mark, and welcome to the current Outside Views report on Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine. At Russia's largest naval parade in St. Petersburg, Kremlin chief Vladimir Putin announced 30 new warships for the naval forces this year. Today, Russia is confidently implementing the major tasks of its national naval policy and is consistently expanding the power of its fleet. That's what Putin said on Sunday. Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu and several guests of the Africa Summit were also present at the country's central parade, which is traditionally held on the last Sunday in July in St. Petersburg and nearby Kronstadt. Putin also invited guests to the parade at the summit on Thursday and Friday. Russian state television broadcast the major event and showed many of the 33 warships, including 4 submarines. The security precautions were also massive because of fears of attacks in the course of the Russian war of aggression against Ukraine. According to the Kremlin, Putin was informed about the recent drone attacks in Moscow, and despite the tense situation, the parades in St. Petersburg and other regions of the country reportedly ran without disruptions. In his speech, Putin also mentioned the Baltic and Black Sea fleets, as well as other naval units that bravely performed their duties. The Black Sea Fleet is also involved in the war against Ukraine and repeatedly fires missiles at the neighboring country from its ships. In his speech to the Russian military personnel who appeared in parade uniform, Putin did not mention his destructive war of aggression against Ukraine. Around 3,000 soldiers took part in the parade. According to the Russian media, the African guests included the heads of state of Mali, Burkina Faso, Eritrea, and the Republic of Congo. Representatives from other African countries also stayed in the metropolis until Sunday. Africa is one of the most important markets for Russian arms. And if you believe the British Secret Services, combat operations in Ukraine have recently increased. The British Ministry of Defence, which has published short briefings every day since the start of the war, said fighting had recently increased in the south of the country. The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky recently visited his troops in southern Ukraine near Bakhmut. Truly heroic is what Zelensky called the deployment of the soldiers on the outskirts of the city, which has been the scene of fierce fighting for months. In mid-July, Ukrainian Deputy Defense Minister Hanna Maliar indicated that Ukrainian troops were gradually advancing near Bakhmut. There is a daily advance on the southern flank around Bakhmut. On the northern flank, we are trying to hold our positions. The enemy is attacking, is what Maliar explained. But the southern and northern flanks of Bakhmut are just one of the key points on which Ukraine is said to have focused its combat operations at the moment. According to the American Institute for the Study of War, 2 other areas are currently in focus. According to this, the Ukrainian armed forces are currently making progress on the border between the Donetsk and the Zaporizhia oblasts. And according to Russian military bloggers in the area, it was said that Ukraine had liberated the town of Staromayorsk from the Russians. The Ukrainian side also said that Zelensky's troops had advanced 10 to 12 kilometers to the Russian main line of defense. Another line in which Ukraine has intensified its efforts lies further east in the Luhansk region between the towns of Svatove and Kremlin. The towns are northwest of the 2 cities of Lysychansk and Severodonetsk, which the Russian military took about a year ago. However, according to the ISW, not all of Ukraine's efforts have been successful. According to Russian military bloggers, several Ukrainian attacks southeast of the city of Zaporizhia have recently failed. A blogger recently showed how the Russian military was able to spectacularly put down an attack at Robotine. I talked about this in my video yesterday already. And the government in Kiev has recently acknowledged difficult fighting and called on its allies to supply more long-range weapons and artillery. And if you're interested in more developments in the course of this war, the next video is right here in the end screen. I'll see you there. I'll be back.